So this is a probate property. There's some clear defects to the outside, which I see before entering, but the issues are primarily at the back of the property. So the main concern is dampness on the back wall, brown staining and mould. So there are three things there. One is the brown staining is a sign of dampness passing through building material, which can come from penetrating damp or a leak. Those are the two most common causes, but condensation can also cause that. It's starting on the top floor and it's coming down. And in fact, it's from the guttering, which was replaced some time ago, and the wall is drying out. So the brown staining will remain there until it's removed. And I would start by sanding it back, and you may end up having to use a stain block. I would use an aqueous one in the first instance, and Zinsser tends to be what most people use nowadays. So there was concern that there might be ongoing issue with the guttering. I had a good look on the outside and I could not find any defects. However, have a look during a rainstorm and just see where the water's going to. Where there's plant growth growing out of wall, it means that there is dampness there, but that's probably residual dampness. It takes between 6 and 9 months for water to be evaporated away from a wall. So this is using a GoPro, but you can use just put your hand out of the window with a normal phone and see what's happening during a rainstorm. At the back of the property, there is concern because this is going to be baby's new bedroom, and in fact there's some plant growth there, and I suspect that downpipe has broken and that it's causing, in fact that's obsolete and should be removed. So in the kitchen dining area, there is dampness along the wall there. I found out that there had been a leak, and probably a leak from the washing machine that was on the solid floor in the kitchen, and because it's solid floor, the water would have slowly passed out into the subfloor void. There was slightly higher vapor levels in the subfloor void. Not a huge amount, but it's probably just some residual dampness there. And what happens if you get damp into the subfloor void, such as from a leak, you get condensation forming above the damp-proof course, and because of the damp-proof course, it can't come down, so it is absorbed upwards. It has the characteristics of rising damp, but it isn't rising damp, because rising damp only comes from groundwater. You're in part of London that doesn't have London doesn't have groundwater anyway, because it's pumped out. You're in a part of London where there's no risk of groundwater. So I was concerned about the downstairs toilet. That is actually dry now. That apparently came from a leak from the bath originally, so not a big deal. So you do have mould around the place, and where you've got mould, it means you've got excess vapor or historical evidence of excess vapor, and that is defined where you've got the internal dew point is above the outside temperature. Use data loggers. At this time of the year, you're not going to tell much from the data loggers, but I set up a website, damp.ai/detect, and you can upload your data and just have a look over time, or use a hygrometer like the one that I'm using to calibrate your data loggers, and that will tell you the dew point any moment in time, and you know whether you've got to increase the ventilation or dehumidification. So in a perfectly ventilated property, you will be replacing the internal air with internal vapor with the external air with external vapor. The external air can never have a dew point that's greater than the outside temperature, because otherwise it would rain, and in fact that is what rain is, condensation. So if you're perfectly ventilated, your dew point will never be above the outside temperature. You don't have to constantly, so also obviously when it's dry outside, the dew point's well below the outside temperature. You don't need to constantly remove the vapor. As I say, dehumidifier is a really good way of reducing your energy costs and increasing the feeling of comfort, and babies will appreciate because you're getting cool but dry air feels much warmer than cool but moist air. So use the data loggers. Have a listen to the section on the data log. Here's the section on data loggers. It's at damp.ai/detect, and obviously up there. And you just drag and drop your data loggers in. So we just compare one to another at any point in time. So living room compared to the bathroom is a good one to do. Temperature was 18 at the time of the survey, and this then generates the graph, and this shows the surface relative humidity, this green line here, and we're getting up to 92%, even though it's summertime. This line here is the dew point, the all-important dew point. It tells you how much vapor is in air. It's also the temperature where condensation takes place at. In a perfectly ventilated property, you'll be replacing your internal air with external air, so you would have a dew point at this level, but clearly you're not. Now, the important thing is that you're above the outside temperature at all times, and you are primarily at this time of year, but it's summertime. This is your internal temperature. It's more or less average, so that's good. This is dew point differential. So this is when one wall or one data logger is showing more dew point or higher dew point, more vapor in one location than another. So if it's above zero, it's because you're getting more in the first data set, so living room in this case. If it's below zero, it's the second set. So the living room compared to the bathroom. So obviously we're getting lots in the bathroom. Now, there can be many reasons for this, and you'll know better than I do, but the three principal ones are that you're generating vapor in an area. So if you're in the bedroom at night, you may be generating vapor, and I know you were down in the living room originally, and that's generating vapor, but probably not during this period. Or you're removing vapor through ventilation, dehumidification, or water or vapor is being removed either by condensation, so a cold wall will condense the vapor and remove the vapor, or conversely a warm wall will cause evaporation. So the residual damp from the water in the penetrating damp from the rainwater in the wall is going to cause extra vapor, and when that wall is warmer because maybe the sun's on that part of the property as opposed to another part of the property at that time of day, then it's releasing vapor. So you're getting clear times a day when you're getting more vapor released in one zone compared to another one. So it is, to me, as much a sign of the property drying out as the generation of vapor. So anyway, have a look at this yourself and use it yourself, particularly going into autumn and the new year. Make sure to keep the internal dew point below the outside temperature at all times. So thank you very much. It is residual damp that you're mainly looking at, with some mould, and you've got some high subfloor relative humidity, but no sensor that is causing rot. It's just in the past causing condensation above the damp proof course.